Hello everyone. We are doing our comparison or compare and contrast chart just like we did in class. This one looks a little bit different though. Instead of bubbles, we just have our charts. We've done this a few times already through our packet. So remember, we are seeing how two stories are alike right here in the middle and how they are different on the outside. So today we are comparing our story Sounds I Love, which we read in week 1, and I Hear with My Ears, which we just read this week. So let me show you again what these stories looked like. So we had Sounds I Loved, and we talked about city life, the sounds that we hear in the city, and country life, the different sounds that we hear in the country. And then we also read I Hear with My Ears, and this story was about the different types of loud sounds that she hears, and then the soft and sweet sounds that she hears. So we are going to be comparing these and seeing how they are similar and seeing how they're different. So we're going to go ahead and get our comparison chart out. If you don't have it, go ahead and pause the video. You should have read the stories by now. So we are going to just jump right in, and I want to know, how are these stories the same? How are they the same? Well, both stories talk about sounds, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and put a bullet point right here. And this is how they are similar. Both of the stories talk about sound. So we're gonna write about sound. So we're putting a bullet point because we're not writing complete sentences. So go ahead and write about sound. Well, we're going to add an S sounds because there's lots of different sounds that we hear. It's plural, not singular. So about sounds right in the middle. Now, if I think, how else are they the same? What type of sounds do they both have? They both have different kinds of sounds, but what do they both have? They both had animals, right? Sounds I Love talks about the horses and cows in the country, and then the I Hear with My Ears talked about cats. So they both have animal sounds. So I'm going to write another bullet point, and I'm going to write animal sounds. So I went ahead and wrote animal sounds. So how else are these stories similar? Well, I know that in this story, Sounds I Love, they compared and contrasted, just like we're doing, the differences of living in the city and living in the country. So they're comparing the two different sounds that they hear living in either or, right? But with the story I Hear with My Ears, she also compares the sounds that she hears that are loud and then the sounds that she hears that are soft and sweet. So they both compare and contrast. So I'm going to write another bullet point, and I'm going to write both compare and contrast, just like we're doing right now. So right here, I went ahead and wrote both compare and contrast. Remember, compare is to see how things are similar, and then contrast is to see how they're different. And then if I think about one more reason why they're similar, and I think about the types of stories and words that are in these stories. Did I have any rhyming words? Did any of the words in both of the stories rhyme? Well, let me see. If I have Sounds I Love, it says, I'm going to read the first two lines. The sounds of a busy city aren't very soft or pretty. Pretty city rhyme, right? So that one has rhyming words. And then let's try I hear with my ears. It says, I have 2 ears. They're quite a sight on the left and on the right. Well, sight and right rhyme, so they also have rhyming words. So both of our stories have rhyming words. So we're going to go ahead and put another bullet point, and we're going to write rhyming words. Rhyming words right here. Go ahead and write that. Pause the video if you need to. Now we're going to head over here. We're going to talk about sounds I love, and I want to know how sounds I love is different from I hear with my ears. So how is this story different? Well, let's talk about the type of story that it is. What kind of story is sounds I love? Well, it's actually a poem. That's the kind of story that it is. This story is not a poem. This one is actually just a story, just a rhyming story. But this one is a poem that someone wrote. So I'm going to put a little bullet point and I'm going to write poem. And on the other side, under I hear with my ears, I'm going to put a bullet point and write rhyming story. Because those things are different. A poem and a rhyming story are different. So I went ahead and wrote poem right here, and then rhyming story over here. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to. How else are they different? What about the narrator? Remember, the narrator is the person who's telling the story or reading the story. So what about the narrator in Sounds I Love? This one right here that talks about our city and our country life. Well, we have 2 different narrators, right? We have one that lives in the city and one that lives in the country. And the other one, we only had 1 narrator. It was just a girl. So we are going to write under Sounds I Love, we are going to write narrator, narrators, because there's 2. Narrators are in the city and country. Oh, my pen is running out. Grab a different pen. My pen's not working. Okay. So narrators are in the city and country. What about the narrator in I Hear with My Ears? Is there more than 1 narrator? No, it's just the girl, right? So, and the narrator is the person that wrote the story. It's the author. So we are going to write a bullet point right there under I Hear with My Ears, and we're going to write narrator is the author. Narrator is the author right here. So how else are they different? Let's think about the things that they compare. So in Sounds I Love, what are they comparing? In this one, what is our story talking about? It's talking about 2 different things. What is it talking about? Well, it's talking about city noises versus country noises, right? I Hear with My Ears does not talk about that. So we're going to go ahead and write right here in a bullet point, compares the city and country. Compares the city and country. Right here, compares the city and country. And what does the story I hear with my ears compare? Now remember, you can pause the video if I'm going too fast and you need to pause and write. That's okay. So now, if I'm talking about this story, what is she comparing? She's comparing two things too, but she's not comparing the city and the country. What is she comparing? Well, she's comparing loud noises versus soft and sweet noises. So we are going to write over here another bullet point. We're going to write compares loud and soft sounds. Right here, compares loud and soft sounds. Now, what kind of pictures are in this story? Do we have photos or do we have illustrations? Look at them closely. Are these photographs or are they illustrations? These ones are photographs. What about this story? Is this a photo or an illustration? This one's an illustration. Perfect. So under sounds I love, we're going to write photographs because those ones were real pictures, right? So actually, we're just going to write pictures. Oh, sorry. Pictures is not the right word because those are pictures also. We are writing photos. I messed up. I'm sorry. Okay, so I went ahead and wrote photos right here. That's how you spell photos. And over here, I'm going to make another bullet point, and we are going to write illustrations. Illustrations right here. So we have photos and illustrations. What about the setting? Where does this story take place? I hear with my ears. We know that Sounds I Love is not a story, so it doesn't have a setting. It's just a poem. But what about I hear with my ears? This is a story, so it has a setting. Remember, a setting is where a story takes place. So if I told you a story and my story was about how I get ready and how I do my hair and how I brush my teeth, my setting would be my bathroom, right? Because that's where you get ready. But where is this story? I hear with my ears. Where does her story take place? In a home, right? So we're gonna make a bullet point right here and we're gonna write setting is in her home. Setting is in her home. Right here. Setting is in her home. And you can pause the video. Now, what kinds of sounds do we hear? Sounds I Love talks about what kinds of sounds? City sounds and country sounds, but more specific. It talks a lot about the sounds of cars, right? So it talks about car sounds. We're going to go ahead and write car sounds. And what about I hear with my ears? What kinds of sounds does she hear in there? Well, she heard different people sounds, right? So we're going to put a bullet point and we're going to put people sounds. People sounds. Now, I just thought of something that both of these stories here that we didn't write over here. What's another sound that they hear in both stories? They kind of hear sounds from outside, right? Nature sounds. So right here, we're going to put a bullet point and we're going to write nature sounds. They hear nature sounds. Nature sounds. And you can pause the video if you need to finish writing. But I just wanted to remind you guys what we did. We did a compare and contrast chart. So when we compare, we are seeing right here down the middle how these two stories are the same. They both share this. And then we contrasted to see how the stories were different. They did not share these things. So we were doing a compare and contrast chart. And this is our chart. I hope this video helped you guys. And I hope it reminded you a little bit of being in the classroom. I miss you guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Bye.